Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. And welcome because we're live again. And my guest is Maverick Wild. Mav?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. This episode needed to be done. I think I was going back and forth, but I'm glad it's with you because I think we both feel the same way about things. We're not here to bury anybody. I'm here to state facts, and that's it. Just state the facts, and people can make up their own mind about whatever. I also want to say I'm giving an open invitation to anybody that after we do the episode, if you would like to come on in a non-confrontational way, because this is in no way out to bury anybody. This is to set the record straight. Bottom line, at least in my opinion. Would that be for you too, Matt?
I haven't talked to some of the people you have, but I've talked to a lot of people. I've gained a little perspective on what's going on here. I don't know who knew what or anything like that,
right.
But I've talked to pretty much somebody on every side of this at this point.
Right.
And yeah, really, I mean, if you're asking me if I know what I'm going to say, I don't. I do not.
Well, I could say this. This episode is because of Brad Cashew allegedly. No, I'm sorry, not allegedly. He brought charges up against Johnny Vegas, a guy we both know very well. In no way are we defending Johnny Vegas.
No, I think in some ways, some people have to realize that there's going to be some natural resistance when you come across and tell somebody that a friend for 30 or more years is capable of doing some pretty horrible things.
Yeah. And and like you said, you're friends with someone for a long time. I was not friends with Johnny as long as you were, or our other mutual friend Sonny is. I've known Johnny for a long time as a fan, had him as a guest on my show, but in no way am I supporting him in anything like this because there's no allegations. There is no way you could support someone like that. If he was even my brother, I wouldn't support someone like that.
So, and I hope I'm not destroying the format that you
It's okay. No,
spent
it's
hours
okay.
writing. But, I did, of course, initially I didn't believe anything.
Right.
Because, like I stated, you're talking about a guy that's, I've probably known Johnny actually longer than Sonny has.
Right.
I met Johnny Vegas 1991.
Wow.
So
it's a long time.
Right in Nashua.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I never thought he was capable of these kind of things.
Right.
Unfortunately, like I said, I've talked to a lot of people.
Right.
And I don't mean to be vague, but I have kind of sworn, some people have kind of told me things in confidence.
Right, and I get it.
That, unfortunately, leads me to believe that at least some of this happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So this isn't denying what happened, I think there's a lot of anger going around right now.
Right.
And a lot of confusion, and I don't blame everybody for not knowing how to handle this. I'm 52 years old.
Right.
And I don't know how to handle this. I can tell you that, I preface this conversation by saying, I've been a victim of some of this behavior.
I was very surprised when you told me that. I really was.
I bring it up now because you can't just leave that hanging out there.
Right.
So I'm going to bring up a place that people have worked.
Okay.
And I don't think I'm going to destroy the place. There is I'm going to call it an organization.
Okay.
And it's referred to as BG Wrestling. Okay. BG Wrestling, for those who are unfamiliar, and they do it above grade. It's legal what they do. Okay. They tape basically wrestling matches for a gay fetish market. That's really the base.
Okay.
And it's not, they don't do sex on tape or anything like that.
Right.
But they do suggestive things with, smoothly built men. And, it's a fetish thing. And I remember when I was first starting, when I was first training, I was approached because I know it's hard to believe looking at me now. I wasn't.
Dude, you
I
were
was
jacked.
I was well back then. I was more cute, but but you know, so I was presented with this. We will pay you to do these tapes.
Right.
They were honest what they did with them. All right. And I only mention it not because I have anything against them. It's not my thing. I wouldn't
Right.
do it. But I only mention it because it was really early on before I even really started wrestling.
Oh, wow.
I started to see that there was sometimes some other stuff that went around wrestling that may not necessarily be wrestling based. So what it did is it gave me kind of put my warnings up.
Right.
And now this is where I have to go a little vague on people because
That's
I will
okay.
say right now, and a lot of people know I'm talking about, but said person has threatened legal action against me.
Wow.
So he will not be named. Suffice to say, one of my first matches was with this guy, and something didn't feel right.
Right.
It's probably only my third match, and I don't know what's going on.
Yep.
I'm being touched in areas where I was never exactly trained to be touched.
Right. Right.
I don't know how exactly you're trained to do that. It wasn't bad. And I went away from it thinking like I was almost like a feeling out process,
Yep,
not a feeling up process, a feeling out process.
Right.
To see how accessible or what this guy's going to put up with. And then later, some of the workers told me, I said, well, he does this to every young wrestler that he wrestles with.
Wow.
To which...
That's surprising that he did that to you, because like I said, you were jacked back then.
To which, and a roofer, and
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
not exactly, didn't look like, But anyways, it's neither here nor there. People told me afterwards, to which that's where I know the anger.
Right.
Because he was there. He was older. He'd
Right.
obviously been working a while. Why was he there? Why
Right.
why was he there in the first place? And coincidentally, I had a second match with him, and it was on my guard, and he kind of tried to do the same things, and it was a little rougher.
Yeah.
And I guess really the main reason I'm here is because it's not, I don't want to believe that people are using this for an agenda. I don't know that. I think there's a lot of anger, and I think people are reacting incorrectly in some ways, and you can't exactly blame them. But I'm really here. I mean, aside from my first reaction of, no way, it can't be it can't be happening. Unfortunately, I've seen it enough, and these people are out there
Right.
in wrestling because it is a shadowy process. It really is. Realistically, wrestling is just it's almost like a little bunch of theater groups running around, and they really aren't regulated, and nobody really, it's not really looked after in that regard. So I guess really my other reaction was, not this again. I've just seen it enough over the years.
Yeah.
There's something about wrestling that attracts. There's this kind
Not just wrestling, no matter.
No,
It's everywhere.
I know.
Unfortunately.
I know. But for me, this, unfortunately, I look at it and it puts a stain on everything. It makes us look horrible. It makes everybody look horrible.
Yeah.
And I think in all the yelling and the screaming, there's really what's being lost is there's a lot of fucking pain out there, Leo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in pain.
Yeah.
And if people don't stop trying to pick each other apart, they're never going to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I thought the other day, like I knew how you were upset about things, and I thought I might have, remember, and I sent you a message. I'm like, hey, if I, set you off in a way by, what I've been saying or anything, I really apologize, because you know me. The last thing I want to do is and again, this isn't even about trying to bury anyone. I wanted to do this to set the record straight, because I feel my friend was 100% taken advantage of in this situation. Our friend, I should say.
It just, nobody's going in with a cool, how do you go in with a cool head with this?
Right.
I mean, and let's face it, nobody wants to go to the situation
Right.
like it's a magnet. It's quite the opposite.
Right.
You know, the natural reaction is to get the hell away from it,
Right.
to separate yourself from it, you know? And me and you are like one's dumb enough to run at it, you know?
Well, I'll tell you, I told you, I won't say the name, but someone that's been in wrestling for a long time that has looked out for me since I started doing this show from day one, hit me up a while ago, asked me to, he's not telling me what to do, but he cares enough. My problem is, Mav, when this all came out, when Brad Cashew put out the first messages of what happened with him, between him and Johnny Vegas, I, as always, read one thing and just react, which is something I shouldn't have did.
Me too. I did the same thing.
I called the person a liar, said they were full of crap, blah, blah, blah. But I also said, if it's true, I'll be the first to apologize, which I did when more allegations came out. I shouldn't be on Twitter because...
I hate to say it. For
Yeah.
me, it wasn't the more allegations. It was as I started asking around.
Right.
And I'm being very honest here. I had to go quite far back to find but I did talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And there was a witness involved, and honestly, it sounded a hair. It was pretty crude.
Right.
I won't repeat it because I promised somebody I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's no problem. I'm sure that if anybody would talk, you'd be able to talk to...
I mean, I'm 52 years old,
Right.
and I just came out and said I started in wrestling when I was 18 years old.
Right.
And, God damn it.
Was that you or was that me?
Hold on a second. Anyway.
That's the first time a phone has been thrown on the show. I'm surprised.
A rare moment of levity on this show. What the hell was I even talking about? I'm sorry. I lost track of my mind.
That's all right. I'm bad at this, too. God, where were we, Bev? I have the worst
I was
memory.
talking about how what I just came out and said
Right.
happened to me.
Yep.
It was hard to admit, It's hard to admit.
Oh, I'm sure it
It's
is.
embarrassing. You don't want to say anything while it's happening.
Right.
Or even if it continues to happen in some cases, because people are... It's particularly pernicious when it's a trainer,
Right.
I think, because this isn't like a job where you're harassing somebody, okay,
Yep.
which is bad enough,
Right.
okay? You're harassing somebody over their dream,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine what kind of damage that can do to somebody.
Right. I agree.
People come into this wanting to do this. They idolize what they've seen on TV.
Yep.
They idolize the wrestlers. And, I think it causes a lot of mistrust with older wrestlers.
Right.
Which is sad because if it's, I think it was Dennis Miller once said about Beirut. It's the few rotten million that ruin it for the other 11.
Right. Right.
I don't mean to say that these sorry for the lack of a better term, but pervs aren't
Right.
like
Yeah.
they're hiding behind every corner.
Right.
The only problem is the ones that get in just do so much damage.
Yes.
And there's not that many, but and I think it's an easy system to hide in. It really is.
Right.
Which really really bothers me to no end. Because I'm talking about incidents that happened to me
Right.
in 1989. Wow. Maybe even 1988,
That's
because with the first thing with BG Wrestling, again, wasn't illegal or anything.
Right.
I did not like the way it was approached.
Yeah.
But, so I've been aware of these kind of things going on. But they go, and anybody who would deny that this happens, apparently, it goes far enough where somebody will pay $14 million to keep people's mouths shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's been going on for so long. I can remember even the WWF Ring Boy sex scandal, where Tom Cole ended up committing suicide later on because of the allegations that he brought to Mel Phillips, Pat Patterson, and Terry Garvin.
Yes.
And it goes way back before that, too. We know that. I mean,
But think of it, they have they actually should have a series of balances and checks.
right.
They're a $1 billion corporation.
Yep.
These are small little wrestling companies.
Right.
You know, when I ran my own shows, I was happy to get out of town and be able to afford pizza.
Yeah.
You know, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. But I don't know. You know, I hear that up in Concord, they're instituting a background check,
Background check. Scott Reed is going to be doing a background check.
which is probably a good start.
Yes. Yes.
Honestly, even if what is happening are not convictable crimes, the more eyes you put on it,
Yeah.
frankly, the more likely it is to go away.
Right.
I do think that's what's happened in the last 15 years, though, is because people have become more cognizant
Right.
of what happens in wrestling.
Yep.
They've become more wary about it. And unfortunately, what I think is it's caused some people to actually be pretty good at hiding it.
Right.
Because there are older guys that will tell you there were guys that were pretty brazen about it,
Right.
pretty wide open about it.
Yep.
You know, and you turn on a light, the cockroaches scatter.
Yes.
You know? And the light was turned on for a while,
Yep.
and they learned how to hide. I don't really know what else to say about it, Leo.
Right. No, I
don't.
understand.
You know, I'm obviously very bothered by this.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And as you should be, as I should be, as everybody should be,
Because-
honestly.
I know almost everybody involved,
Right. Right.
and I can see portions of everybody's side of the argument. But I'm just saying, guys, F the argument. Just let's go on. Let's take care of our students.
Right.
Let's be vigilant. If we find somebody, you know, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the communications are.
Yep.
I don't. You know, do I think Sonny knew about Johnny Vegas for years and years? No. Because if anybody had an opportunity to know about Johnny Vegas,
Right.
and I've said it, and I'm going to say it again here, it should have been me.
Right.
I ran my own shows for
Yep.
about 3 years.
Right.
I had a gym about a mile down the street from here.
Yep.
You know, I didn't run what I call a wrestling school. I called it a gym, basically because I didn't really want the pressure hanging over my head
Right.
of training students.
Yep.
I would take one occasionally. We never took one underage except for one, and I insisted her mother was at the training.
It's good. Smart. See, but you were smart right off the bat about it.
Yeah. But like I said, I went back, and you would have to assume if I was asking questions, I don't bury my head in the sand. I really don't.
Right.
You know, I was guilty when I was working shows. I kind of keep my head low, and I
Yep.
not want to get involved in anybody else's crap.
Right.
But when something like this is presented to me, I'm a pain in the ass. I got to dig. I got to find out a little.
Right.
And, you know, I talked to anybody that came through my gym, and anybody who trained
Right.
reported no problems. However, I did go further back, probably a good 10 years before my gym was even open. And I did hear one eyewitness account, again, that I can't really go into.
Yeah, that's okay. Because, I mean,
And I'm also going to say this here, and I bet nobody else would come out and say this. Just because nobody's told me it's happened during my time,
right.
I realize, I don't know what people think of me after this, but
They think we're assholes.
I know most people think I'm a decent guy. Misguided, crazy, neurotic, no fingernails. Guilty. I didn't sleep at all last night. You know, I am obviously not looking forward to doing this show, but it had to be tackled.
Yep.
You know.
I think
So when I say
needed to do it.
I went back and of course I checked my own students first.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily believe I don't think anything happened there, you know,
Right.
because unfortunately I had children, and unfortunately you have to look into, and when you have children you have
Right.
to look into things like this, and you know there's a pattern of behavior. It doesn't just stop. 10 years ago and then
Right.
pick up. It doesn't pick up, it doesn't start in 1997 or 1995 and then stop and then
Right.
just pick up,
Yep.
It's not the way it works. So some people may be trying to spare my feelings, frankly.
Well, I'll say this, and this is how I honestly feel. What happened to Brad Cashew was horrible.
Of course it is.
100% horrible.
I have been on the show and told you Brad Cashew was my favorite worker
Yeah,
out of anybody
yeah.
in New England.
Yep. You like him a lot.
I do. I even like talking to him.
Talented kid.
I didn't like talking to him the last time. I'm not going to reveal anything about
Right.
the
Well,
conversation.
we talked on the
but
side about that.
like I said, I have spoken to a lot of people,
Yep.
including Brad.
Yep.
And
Kid's talented.
actually, I am going to drop by and go talk to them in person
Good.
because I want to hear what they have to say.
Well, you let them know because, as I
don't-
said, they got an open invitation to come on.
I don't want it to be a yelling match. I don't.
Right.
I already had that with Brad.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people involved in this, and it's almost impossible for anybody to do everything right.
Right.
Because I don't think there is. I don't think there isn't everything right
No.
in this situation.
Not in this situation.
It's
Definitely not.
You do the best you can,
Right.
and then you try to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's just to go into this a little bit. We're here. Let's, 35 minutes left of the show. On July 9th, Brad Cashew accused Johnny Vegas of sexual abuse of a minor, of a minor by a wrestling trainer. As time went on, a few more complaints, allegations, or whatever about Vegas came to light. These are serious allegations. And I 100% agree that there is no place for this in wrestling, for this behavior. And this is coming out after the speaking out movement, which brings me to why I wanted to do this show. Okay? I have a platform. Our mutual friend, I feel, was wronged. And I just don't understand why. But as I dug into it, I found out maybe, and you're more than welcome to come on and talk about this. But, in November, Johnny was asked to leave the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. And then from there, he went to work at Next Gen Pro Wrestling School up in Manchester. And no one told, well, I guess he knew. That the owner of Next Gen. But no one came forward other than maybe telling him. So something that happened at one school was let to continue to go on. Why? Why? You might have told the trainer, but why? Why did you take the next step when there was a picture of Johnny Vegas, Scott Reed, Mike Hollow, and our friend Sonny Goodspeed? And all of a sudden, Sonny's being called out. Yes, again, 100%. Johnny Vegas should not be around wrestling schools.
No.
Or
in a school zone, apparently.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you want to keep away from the elementary school. Half joke on that. I'm not trying to be a dick to Johnny, but I'm not happy with the situation or him. I don't.
Just so people know.
Yeah.
That's how I get through situations.
Right.
I a little bit of levity, and I know there's nothing to laugh at here.
Yep.
It's just, it's the only way you can kind of get through this stuff.
Right.
Even if it's a morbid kind of
Yep.
humor, I guess.
Well, there was a few things that happened at APW where I do the concessions. I was doing the concessions one night, and the New England Pro Wrestling Academy students and owner was there. I'm not gonna lie, acting like high school kids. Now, some are barely out of high school already. I get that. But then there were some adults, like real adults. They could have lost their building that night, drinking in the parking lot, and it really affected me, blocking the concession stand. And I went out and asked him to move. And, Chase was a little bit, I know he was trying to be funny, but he's, because I have a relationship with Chase, probably not a good one after this, but it is what it is. And as I walked away, he said, "What are you going to do about it?" That pissed me off. But, whatever. Like I said, I think he was mostly joking. But, I mean, that night, the APW could have lost their building that night. You know what I mean? The cops were called, and then there was one other incident at a show where a spot was called that they were going to do it outside. Well, I guess earlier before the show, they had a meeting, like they always do, around the ring before the fans come. And things were told not to do this, not to do that. So the match is going on. Sonny didn't get a chance to tell Cashew. Where I'm not going to lie, probably Sonny would probably say this to him. He probably should have sent the ref out or something like that to let the other rep know. But it didn't happen. The spot happened, and everyone got a little bit of reprimanded.
Yeah.
So, and I heard, and you can come on and let me know and tell us all if I'm wrong, that Brad wasn't happy about it being talked to like that. Again, if I'm wrong, please come on the show. I have no ill will towards you. I'm just trying to set the record straight and wonder why my friend, who's been in this business for 30 years, was done wrong like that. I just don't get it. I really don't. Because when Johnny Vegas showed up at the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy, and they took a picture, all of a sudden, they want to talk about it now. All I can say is competition. I mean, Elite Pro Wrestling Academy's got 6,000 square feet, a couple rings. And I've always said this, and you know this. Always put over the New England Pro Wrestling Academy as the top training facility in New England, maybe even in the United States. I've always said that, But you can't deny that with this new school, and Scott Reed's a hell of a trainer, but then you add Mike Hollow, who's one of the best trainers ever in New England, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, and again, I'm not in the wrestling business. But all of a sudden, there was an issue. Why? Why then and not in November? It's all I want to know is why. Because it looks like an agenda. That's all I can say is, again, not trying to bury anybody. The New England Pro Wrestling Academy is a great school, okay? But the truth's got to come out.
I don't believe Sonny did anything wrong. I just don't. That's the one, in all these conversations, the one thing nobody can seem to really make the leap from. I choose not to believe it's due to competition. I choose to believe that, as I understand, and I'm horrible with timelines, but as I understand, he was asked to leave where he was, moved on up to Manchester for a little while, and then started showing up in Concord at the Elite.
He had moved.
Yes,
I think he was coming back.
Yeah, he was coming back.
Yeah, he's coming back, and I don't think he was there to trade anyone that day. I think he just happened to be there, and they took a picture.
If you had been victimized by him and you thought he was out of state and you saw that picture all of a sudden, I think I'd be fucking upset.
I agree 100%. 100%.
I'd be pretty upset.
Yes, of course. And he should have been upset. He'd have every right to be upset.
And at this point, even though I lashed out at first, because you never want to believe this story about any of your friends.
Which I did too.
Even though I lashed out, I started realizing, well, I reacted instantly to something I saw.
Right.
And not even instantly. I actually thought about it for probably a week, before I started putting anything up. And then I started talking to more people and actually got a chance to talk to the other side. And it just, that had to be a square kick in the nuts to see that picture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I get why he, said something about it.
And it feels like they lashed out, and I can't blame them for lashing out because I did it. And again, nobody knows how to deal with this.
No one
does.
This
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to deal with it. Nobody
Right.
should have to deal with it. I kept my daughter out of professional wrestling because I knew these kind of things went on.
Right.
You know? I also would have been perfectly fine taking my daughter and say, hey, hang out with Johnny Vegas for a little while.
Because you didn't know.
And if it, not that anything probably would have happened.
Right. No, right.
Because my daughter is pretty much, she's pretty much a version of me. She'll probably kick the hell out of
She'll
him.
probably kick his ass.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, by the way, I'm also not characterizing anybody that fell victim to this as like weak or anything like that. Like I said, it's dream stealing, it's dream crushing. And that's hard on some people. I did have a little advantage when I got into this. I didn't want a career in this. I never wanted a career in it.
Really?
No, never. So, and it's pretty easy to see why, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that gave me a perspective where I didn't have to worry really too much about my next booking.
Right.
I was in wrestling because it was an adventure. But when you encounter that, no.
Right.
And it's gone on, a lot of people have been guilty of it over the years.
Right.
I have friends that have been mowed down in at least as serious of a situation as this, probably worse.
Wow.
And again, I won't mention his name
Yep.
and I'm sorry if everybody's he's vague, he's not mentioning names. That's because I have actually gone out and talked to people that have been affected by this.
And people you care about.
Yes.
Yes.
I care about everybody on this side of the equation.
Right.
They probably don't think I do right now, but Brad,
Yep.
I
feel so bad for that kid. I do.
Chase, I think I almost broke Chase's teeth out one night wrestling.
Wow.
And we've always had it's been off and on. We've always had a pretty decent relationship.
Right.
And the other person I talked to on the other side was Chase.
Yeah.
And Chase would like to meet with me and talk things over.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically out of respect. And I think he probably realized I've calmed down a little.
Right. Right.
Because nothing gets fixed here without approaching it rationally. It doesn't, And I can be quite a rage machine myself.
Right.
Trust me, Said person that has threatened legal action against me. The other reason he never bothered me over the years because I may have threatened to beat the hell out of him a few times.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
But at that point, I was older and more confident. I knew I don't have to put up with you.
Right.
But again, we need to find a way to stamp this the hell out.
Yes.
Because you would think that maybe. You ever see me get mad?
Not full blown mad.
I'm not.
I've seen you upset.
I'm not fun in the middle of a conniption fit.
Right. I would imagine not.
And it's pretty showy.
Yeah.
You would think
Yeah.
boys like to think we can police ourselves. You would think that maybe, just maybe, this particular fun seeker would have probably backed off when he started realizing, well, somebody might actually have a physical response.
Right.
It doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work. There's still they just move on to the next person.
To another place.
All
Right.
right. Well, this is obviously not an easy victim. I have to move on to somebody else. This guy may tear my spleen out.
Right.
And it shouldn't have to be that way. And these people shouldn't be in wrestling.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm most offended about. They're still there.
Right.
They're still there. And me and you, Leah, would come on this goddamn show, and we've done the Me Too speaking out movement. And if anybody thought I was just turning over barrels for fun, if I would just because I like to hear myself talk, it's not the truth.
Right.
No,
I know that.
These things sicken me.
Yes.
And I want it to stop.
Yep. Me too. And I really like Chase a lot. I feel I have a good relationship with him. We're not friends or anything like that. I don't know Brad at all, But I didn't come on here to bury people. I wanted to do to set the record straight. And I want to know why. Sonny, all right, so at a show, at an APW show, Johnny Vegas, I don't think was booked, but showed up. Now they're going to put him on the show. Brad went to Sonny and said, told him the situation. And asked and Sonny said, well, what do you want me to do about it? He said, ask him to leave. will you do that? And Sonny said, let me think about it. Now he's not protecting him. That's a 30-year friendship
I know.
being talked to about by a kid that Sonny said maybe 10 conversations with. And again, this isn't to bury you either, Brad. This is to set the record straight. I want to know, you know? So they ended up asking him to leave. And that's the reason why Brad said he posted that picture, was because Sonny knew, because he had told him. But again, when you're friends with someone for 30 years, it's very hard to just turn your back on them, especially someone that you're that close to. And you know, like you and Sonny, very close to Johnny over the years.
Well,
I know it's hard.
I think in comparables. It's what I always do.
Right.
And I look at this and, you know, I look at the friendship I have with Chase.
Right.
And, you know, and because the situation being what it is, you can't ever dismiss these kind of charges because
Of course not.
they
Serious.
happen. But it's just, I just think there's so much anger about everything.
Yep.
And it's right. And everybody should be angry. Everybody
Right.
should be angry. But the problem with anger is it gets tossed everywhere.
Right.
Flies around.
Yep.
I'm telling you about my conniption fits. I'm not proud of them when they happen, you know, because very little constructive happens during them.
Right.
You know? And it's like we've been on like a 2.5 week long conniption fit here, you know?
Yep.
And I'm as guilty of it as anybody else, frankly, you know? But really, I don't want this kind of thing to continue.
Neither do I. And it needs to
Don't.
stop. It needs to stop. It really does. And all I want to ask you guys is, do you still feel that, you know, by putting Sonny in all this was the right thing to do? Knowing everything now, you know what I mean? Everything. It sucks that you can be canceled. All right, let me put it this way. It seems nowadays you're guilty until proven innocent, instead of how it really should be. You're innocent until proven guilty. And again, what happened to Brad and Jet Black or whatever?
I don't know the other name.
I know who it is. I won't say his name. And I'm only saying Brad's name because he, you know, put it out there. And I feel bad for him too. Anyone that's gone through anything like that, anything like that.
You know, and one of the reasons I want this all to be quelled
Yep.
is because really, this is going to sound strange. I don't want to hear less about this. I
Right.
actually want to hear more.
To know this being
want-
taken care of.
I want people to be able to come out
Right.
and say, this happened to me. This happened to me.
Yeah.
And you get a couple, 3 people that start saying the same things, you know? And I know sometimes, you know, it is hard to believe these things about your friends,
Right.
you know, but you have to be objective because unfortunately it goes on in wrestling and everywhere else. But
Absolutely.
wrestling, it's particularly easy to hide, you know? But I don't want it to be in the shadows anymore.
Right.
That's why I'm coming out and telling you.
Yep.
I almost cried when I came out and told you what happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm 52 years old.
But it's still there, man, the thing that happened to you. And it's all right, because I'll be saying, my grandson's 15 years old. And, you know, I hope his dad ain't watching, but, you know, his dad told him, I don't cry. And I told him, you feel like crying. You let it, you cry. You feel those emotions, because how can you heal or help yourself if you just bury those tears? Do you know what I mean?
I'm at the point in my life. I don't mean to turn this about me, but it's personally been a pretty sucky year.
I know.
You know, we were almost back-to-back weeks where I'm on here doing memorial services
Yeah.
for 2 good friends.
Right.
Apparently I am a magnet for bad news. I got one former wrestler student that decides to invade the Capitol, you know?
Yeah.
And then I have
That's crazy.
Then we have this. But you know what? That one over there is isolated.
Right.
Crazy.
Yep.
This is something we can do something about.
Exactly. And you brought up, did you say it on air or was it off air? That the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy is now
said it
going to
right on
start
air.
doing background
I
checks.
said it right on air.
Very smart, Scott.
So I got that idea and I started thinking. And I have been in contact with a few people
Right.
that may be able to enforce rules on wrestling. I'm not going to go more
Yeah.
into that. And this will probably cause some problems with some people that I know. But I'm sorry, it can't go on anymore.
No, it can't.
You know, and if that means a commission has to start running background checks on
Yep.
promoters, you know,
They should then.
or maybe in lieu of a commission like they don't have in Massachusetts, maybe you have to make the promotions register with the state, not register in that way.
I know what you mean.
But
And that would be
register
smart.
and submit to a background check to operate within the state.
And how do you think that worked? Now, you know Steve Boucher. How do you say his name?
Steve Boucher.
Steve Boucher. Have you talked to him?
Very briefly, not about,
Did you ask him about coming on the show?
not yet.
We got to get him on here, though.
I have a feeling that no state official in their right mind would come on. Not everybody's as dumb as I am, Leo.
But again, I just, that's the question I have for you, Brad, and I guess Chase. Why? The timing is, to me, is suspect. It really is. I mean, if why wasn't it brought to everyone's attention when he went to the school in Manchester?
See, this is where you and I break. I can't think that was.
Yeah, you said that, but
can't-
I find why? Why now? I don't understand. I don't.
Because a lot of people are angry and a lot of people don't react right when they're angry.
Right.
And again, I keep repeating myself, that anger is so goddamn justified.
Yeah.
It really is. And, that this stuff hasn't been stamped out, that I haven't had a wrestling match in 2011, I think.
Wow.
So
11
10 or 11
years.
years, and before that it had been 4 or 5. I've been
Right.
so
Yeah, because you
meaning
only came back for a
I-
very short time.
for about
correct?
a year. So that means
Okay.
I was basically out for about 15 years.
Right.
And the same problem is still there, despite all this enlightenment we supposedly have now. I guess the best thing I could say is you're going to have to be brave and come out and tell people these things happen to you.
And a lot of brave people did with the speaking out movement. A lot of brave people. And Brad was brave too.
He was.
He was very
was.
brave.
He was. That's
Coming out again, like these allegations against someone who everyone knows was very loved in the wrestling, New England independent wrestling community. There's no doubt. You can't say that Johnny Vegas wasn't loved by almost everyone.
he was. He was a talented guy.
Yep.
Nobody could ever get the most out of that little. And,
Yes.
and I'm not really in the habit of complimenting people that, but
But we both feel the same way, that there's no room for anything like that in independent wrestling or in society in general, honestly.
actually the problem is there is room for it and there shouldn't be.
Okay.
If there wasn't room for it, it wouldn't happen. We need to
point.
make it
Good
so,
point.
so it's not
Right.
get out.
Right.
And we can't do it ourselves, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I broke in, I've said this before too. I broke in 1989 and this was happening then, okay? It was probably happening in 1889.
Right.
When
Right.
Jebediah Daypre Scott Maverick Wild broke into the wrestling business. That doesn't excuse it.
Right.
That makes it even worse.
Yes. I agree. You're funny. You crack me up the way you say things sometimes. No, but again, horrible. And Brad was very, very brave because it's, like you said, it's very hard to come out and say something like that. Just in general. Never mind adding on top of it something that's very popular in the community.
Yeah.
And again, no way are either one of us backing Johnny Vegas in this situation.
No. No, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? It's horrible. And allegedly, I don't know. Maria told me I should be saying that a lot today.
I believe this.
Yeah, okay.
I believe this.
Yeah. When you did get to talk to people and found out more things that I know.
I think we've both been talking to people. I know Chase pretty well.
Right.
Man, I'd like to think that this isn't. Screw it. I mean, this.
Sorry, Maverick, man. I know I'm making it difficult on you. I know I am. I'm sorry.
If we can't work together on this problem
Yep.
to make it go away, then eventually somebody will make everything go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe people need to think of it in those terms.
100%.
Someday somebody will take this out of our hands.
Yep. You're right.
So we have to do something about it now.
Absolutely. And again, what Brad coming out and saying this was great, Jet Black, same thing. We need to get rid of anybody like that in the wrestling business, in society. It's everywhere. It's not just in wrestling.
We can't solve society.
No.
Maybe we can help it here. Maybe we can help this out a little.
Right.
Maybe we can't. I don't know. I can't watch this anymore.
I still believe that the New England Pro Wrestling Academy is one of the best wrestling schools in the country, not just in New England, not just around here. I also think the Elite Pro Wrestling Academy is off to a great start too. With Mike Hollow, one of the best trainers to ever come from this area. Honestly, Scott Reed's a great trainer too. Hell of a talent in the ring. A lot of people will say, he's on the shorter side. You give Scott 4 inches in height, he would have been on TV every week. He was that talented.
He looks like Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, a great kid, great guy who only wants to give back to the community and to wrestling what it gave him, So I also felt bad about that, But again, I want to know why the thing about Sonny, seemed like such, how do I want to put this? It seemed like they went after him, it seems, and I don't get it because everyone's like, all of a sudden he can be canceled, and yet he was one of the most popular and nicest guys out of, am I wrong to say that almost everybody loves Sonny Goodspeed?
No, you're not wrong at all.
Which I think a lot of people were let me just say this. A lot of people hit me up and asked me to do this episode because they felt he had been done so wrong.
You asked me if you wanted Sonny to come on the show, and I just said, no, he's been through enough.
Been through enough, yeah.
He has. He's a family man.
Yes, he is.
He's got kids.
Yep. And a very good dude.
And I'm sorry. Me and Sonny are very different people, but some of our background as parents are very similar. We both he has 2 girls, I have 1 and a son. And something happens to your brain chemistry when you have children.
Absolutely.
You're extremely wary about things like this.
Big time.
And I'm sorry, Sonny didn't know.
No.
If he knew, there's no way Johnny would be around him.
Well, the bottom line is Sonny, I guess, did know because of the conversation at the thing.
He was told something by somebody. No offense, Brad. He really barely knows you.
Right.
About somebody.
That's my point.
He really, really knows that he really, really never suspected about him.
And he did what Brad wanted him to do that night.
He did.
They asked him to leave.
He did too. Again, it's a big leaping point when you come up to somebody and you don't really know them.
Right.
And apparently you guys have had a little tiff about a spot or something like that.
Yep.
So you already have a little bit of a contentious relationship. And you're coming to and telling them the most horrific thing. It's one of the most horrific things you could tell somebody about somebody they know.
Yep.
You're going to have to expect some pushback. I'm sorry. and that's terrible to say that, but you're going to have to expect some pushback when it's
Right.
like that.
Right.
Sonny isn't the one who did something wrong here. Johnny
Thank you.
Vegas is the
Thank
one
you.
who did something wrong here. I don't even think they did anything wrong in North Andover.
Okay.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I think they were presented with a horrible situation. I will say this.
Yeah.
Because I have worked off and on as a guest trainer down there myself. Right. They tend to have new guy ring, experienced guy ring.
Yes. As Johnny was in the beginner's ring.
He was in the beginner's ring.
Right.
Which you would think would be a perfect position for a guy that is all psychology.
Right.
And technique.
Yeah.
And smoothness. So you understand why they would do it that way. And honestly, that's probably the best way to train new people.
Yes.
Section them off, let them develop.
Yep. Yeah, they can't be in the ring with people that are so much more advanced.
Unfortunately, that will tend to expose them a little more.
Right.
And that's not, I'm sorry, that's not anything against the NEPWA. It's not anything against them. It's just anybody who runs a class like that, he's going to have, I ran things a lot freer.
Right.
It was, a lot rougher tumble. It wasn't all set up. And people can tell, I don't care about, people can say, that's not the way you train people. That's fine. I don't care about that.
Right.
That's bullshit at this point. It doesn't mean anything. What I'm telling you is, unfortunately, the way wrestling classes are run, and it's the way they're run in most places too.
Right.
It's not just there. New guys are going to be sectioned off, and unfortunately, that's going to make them susceptible to somebody like that.
Right.
And I in no way think that Chase or Brad knew at that point.
Right.
I don't, because I know Chase, and even I think Chase is a good guy. I do.
Right.
But
I think he's a good guy too. I do.
But he's also just a pragmatic guy. Why would you want that around?
Right. Right.
No, and he didn't, obviously, and he got rid of it. But nobody knows how to handle this stuff.
But another thing is when he went to the other school, why? You didn't want him doing it at your school, and I get that, right? But why didn't you just come out and say it to everybody then? In a way, it was like giving a guy without it being out there, back at a school training young kids.
Leo, I've been on the show, I've been on 10, 12 times.
Probably about 12,
okay.
Seriously.
I have never dreaded being on this show.
Wow.
More.
Right.
I
know you wanted to do the speaking out one. I remember because you had said to me, we need to do it.
But I don't want to.
I understand that, and I appreciate you coming on because nobody else wanted to do it with me. I'll tell you that right now.
And I don't want to do it with you. I'm not going to lie to you.
I was even hit up today by people that I respect that look out for me, and even explaining to them why I was doing this. They said, Leo, you're opening yourself up.
But this leads into what I'm saying is why this wasn't relayed, or maybe it was relayed to one person.
I think it was relayed to the school. But why wasn't it put out there completely like it was about the other school? I want to know why.
Because why am I 52 years old and just telling people now?
True.
Because
so hard.
Nobody wants to talk about this shit.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
It's maybe even more so when it happened to them.
Yep.
I'm telling you of a couple people that told me a few stories and they didn't want me to use their name.
Yep.
And, so I'm being very vague about it. So people don't want to talk about it. No. It's embarrassing.
They definitely don't.
It's horrifying.
Yep.
And, of course it shouldn't happen, but that's why. I really think that's why. And then here's this picture of Funseeker with a bunch of other people.
Right.
You'd done me wrong like that, I'd probably lash out too.
Absolutely. I get why this was all said, and as it should have come out. 100%. I agree. I feel horrible that it happened to Brad, the other guy, and anyone else that it happened to. Because that's a horrible thing to go through. Like you said, very hard to speak out about it. And then, like I said, on top of it, about someone that's wildly, is it wildly loved by almost everyone. You know, so that must have made it even harder.
Of course.
For Brad to come out and say that, because he even said it in the thing.
Because he had to anticipate there was going to be some backlash.
Absolutely.
Of course
Absolutely.
He did. And it's horrible that there has to be to some degree, but I mean, you know, and I was guilty of some of the backlash myself.
Right.
I really was, because I'm sorry, you know. I got friends dying dropping dead by the wayside here.
Yeah.
I don't want to believe it about it, you know. I'm losing more every year. I don't want to lose any more.
Oh, yeah.
This is, you know, if I got to lose one this way, I get fine as long as it's exposed.
Right.
But, you know, we don't want to believe these things because we know these people and we didn't know.
Right.
And it bothers us we didn't know.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. 100%. It bothered me. And like I told you, I read like the first one. I started reacting like, but that's me. I don't stop and think. I just react.
Not me. I'm a brooder and exploder.
Say, I wish I was, because Maria told me that.
It's not any better, because when I get a chance to think about how angry I am, I get a chance to think of some choice words to throw in there. It does some damage.
Right.
And I don't like to be that way.
Guys, you want to come on and talk. Again, at no way am I here or Matt to attack anyone. We just want to set the record straight. I guess, at least my look of it being straight.
Listen,
I just don't think what was done to Sonny shouldn't have been done, and he's my friend.
Listen,
and I have a platform.
I love every one of you. I really do. Stop tearing each other apart.
Yes.
Please, stop it. Whatever
Care for each
anybody
other.
did wrong, the guy who did the most wrong is Johnny Vegas. Let's keep it there, please.
Exactly. Guys, thanks, man. Mav, thanks for coming on, buddy. Guys, we're out. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.